Hey now, I'm Tim. I work on the sales team here at QuickJack. Today I'm going to show you how to set up your QuickJack portable car lift. I'll start with unboxing and then go step by step through the entire process. Why are we doing this? Well, there are a lot of QuickJack setup videos out there and many of them are just awesome. However, we see a mistake from time to time or maybe a no-no, so I'm going to go through and show you how to set up a QuickJack safely and efficiently. If you know someone who could really use this guide, please share this video with them. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, we have three boxes, box 1, box 2, and box 3. So what we'll do now is go ahead and open up the boxes and take out the contents. Okay, so we got box number 1. Let's take this out. Frame number 1. Let's grab another box. Now, box number 3, we're going to grab it. We got our power unit inside here, nice and protected, safely arrived. Voila, there it is. So let's see what we have in this box. We've got our hoses, 2 long hoses with no fittings, 2 short hoses, and fittings galore. So these are rubber blocks. We have 2 different sizes. We have a tall and a shorter one. So those are the short ones, and the tall ones, you can see there's quite a bit of difference between them. And that's to make up the gap so you can get your lifting points and safely lift your vehicle. So once we have this all out of the way, make sure your area is nice and clean, easy to work with. You've got your power unit, you've got your lifting blocks, and we've got our hydraulic fittings. Now what we're going to do now is assemble each of the hydraulic lines. The short lines are going to attach to the QuickJack frames themselves. The longer lines are going to attach to the power unit and the short lines from the QuickJack. Let's take an inventory of what we have on hand. Number 1, we've got a power unit. Number 2, we've got 2 QuickJack frames. Number 3, I've got 8 rubber blocks, tall and short, 4 each. I've got 2 short rubber hoses. I've got 2 long rubber hoses. I've got the frame positioning handles. I've got your quick connect complete with your pipe thread tape, and we're going to show you how to put that together too. So let's look around. Have I got everything? I got that, I got this. Oh, wait a minute. How about the instruction manual? We're going to need this so that we can make sure we get everything properly assembled. So let's get this stuff out of the way, make a nice working area so that we can put together the rest of the components. If you're missing anything, please reach out to us at QuickJack.com. We'll make sure to get you laced up as quickly as possible. Okay, so now it's time to hook up the fittings and hoses. Here's a tip. When you get the platforms there in a collapsed position, in order to access the place where we need to put the 90-degree fitting, it's best if we separate the platform slightly so we have access to the hole. Let me demonstrate. So by pushing down on one end, I can separate the scissors and using the tall rubber block, put it in position, and now I have access to this fitting that I want to get to put where the 90-degree is. So, grabbing this 6mm Allen wrench, I'm just going to take this plug out. There it is. And then I'm going to put my 90-degree fitting in position. However, before I do that, I need to identify which end needs the pipe thread tape. As you can see, this end has a rubber washer to seal it up against the cylinder. So this goes into the cylinder, and then the pipe thread tape is going to go around this end so that I can connect the short hose to it. So let's get the pipe thread tape. And typically you just want to pull out a small amount, and we just want to go around this thing about 2 or 3 times. Now here's an important tip. Do not get the pipe thread tape over the orifice that the fluid needs to flow. That could cause some problems. So we're going to put the pipe tape along here. We're going to go around about 2 times, tear that off, and now I can put this fitting into position. So one more point. This fitting, the nut on this turns, so I want to put the fitting in as far as I can before I tighten the nut to secure it into position. So I'll spin it in this way. It's going to be at about a 10 o'clock position. Pointing to the back, this is an 11/16 wrench. I'm simply going to tighten the fitting into position, holding the fitting and tighten up on the nut. Tighten that a few turns. It doesn't have to be gorilla tight. It just needs to be tight enough so that it's not going to leak. There's the spot. Okay, so now that we have our hydraulic elbow fitting in position, let's hook up the hose. So we take our short hose and we're going to connect the female end to the 90-degree fitting that we put into position. So we simply tighten this up onto here. We've got nice access with our block. We're going to tighten this up. Again, not too tight. We just want to make sure it's tight enough that it's not going to leak. And that should be it. So now we're going to put a male fitting on the end of this so that this hose will also connect to our longer hoses. So we grab our male fitting and our pipe tape. Once again, we're just going to lay a couple of rounds of pipe tape along this thread, making sure that we don't block the orifice where the fluid needs to flow. We'll just go around twice, and then we can just tear it and put our fitting on. Let's make sure this is tight. Got my 22 millimeter, got my speed handle, put that in position. That should do it. Now, this jack is complete. Let's separate. Now let's grab the other platform and do the exact same thing. Okay, so now we have both jacking platforms prepared, and it's time to get our hydraulic hoses, the long ones, set up. So what we're going to do with those is we're going to take each one of the hoses and put a female connector on the end so that it can connect to the motor and to the jacking platform that we just prepared. Same procedure as last time. We just need to put pipe thread tape around this fitting, making sure that we don't block the orifice, and then we'll make sure our fittings are nice and tight. So let's just take a wrap of this. We'll go around here once, twice, and again making sure nothing's blocking the hole. And we simply screw the fitting onto it. Grab our 22 millimeter wrench and our little speed handle. And just good and tight. So there's number one. And we grab the other end of the same hose, get our pipe tape ready. One hose down, one to go. We're going to set that right there. And we're good to go. All right, now is the time that we're going to pressurize the cylinders, and each one of the platforms has a small air cylinder on it, and the reason we put that on there is to help the unit collapse when there's no weight on it. It almost acts like a big spring. So we got the air cylinder. We're going to take the little cap off. It's just like a tire cap. We just got to put a little air in it. And today I've got a really unique product. It's one of our favorite accessories. It's the jack pack. It's got 12 volts. It's got a light on it. It's got all kinds of features and stuff. So let's pressurize this unit. We're going to hook up the air hose. And then all we have to do is turn the button on. And then watch the gauge. We're going to bring up at about 50 PSI. Boom. So it's holding. We know that's good. So we're going to disconnect our hose and put our cap back on. And then we just want to transition and do the other platform the same exact way with the same pressure. All right, so now we're going to set up our power unit. This is a 12-volt unit, and it's the same procedure whether it's a 12-volt or a 110. First thing we need to do is remove these little red plugs that are in the manifold where we're going to put our fittings. So we just take these out. Now it's not uncommon for a little bit of fluid to come out of this because we do have some fluid in there when we're testing. So that's out. I grab one of my fittings. This has an O-ring on it, so I don't have to use the pipe thread tape on this. I'm just going to put this right into the manifold. So here's a tip. Make sure you put the bottom one in first because it's easier to access with your wrench when you go to tighten it up. So we put that one in. I'm going to grab a 22mm wrench, tighten that up. Again, good and tight, but we don't have to over tighten it or risk stripping the threads out. Grab my second fitting. I'm going to put that in the hole right up above it. Again, no pipe thread tape because we do have the O-ring. And then grab the wrench. And that should do it. So now we have our fittings installed. It's time to put the fluid in. We're going to use Dextron transmission fluid, ATF. It's going to take about 2.5 quarts to get this power unit filled up, and then some of the fluid will fill up the lines and the cylinders, so we'll want to check the unit after we've run it to make sure that the fluid is all the way topped up. So the filler valve on this has two parts. We have a breather on the top, and then we have the actual plug that's holding the fluid into the reservoir. So this plug has to be completely removed so that I can put the fluid into the reservoir. So I'll grab my little funnel, grab some transmission fluid, and we'll just pour that right into there. It's a good idea just to give your funnel a little bit of air so that the fluid can flow in there freely without causing a hydraulic lock. So we got one quart in. Let's grab another quart. We're going to pour this one in. Again, same procedure. Just lift your funnel up a little bit so that the fluid flows freely through there. And then one more. Now we'll only put about 1/2 quart of this, and then we'll check, make sure, see how much fluid we got to the top. Okay, so our fluid's all filled up. Let's put our breather cap back into position. It's important to make sure that the valve on the top is slightly open so the air pressure can escape from the reservoir when we're setting up the rest of the equipment. So we've got our bleeder valve is in position. We've got our quick connects in the manifold, and we're ready to hook this power unit up and test the entire unit. Okay, so now we've got our jack platforms all set up. We've got our hydraulic hoses and connectors done, and now we have our power unit ready to go and full of fluid. So let's hook up the lines and see how it operates. Now we got our lines hooked up. Let's hook our power source up. We're going to use this little booster box to give us 12 volts to run our 12-volt system. And we'll press the up button, see how she rolls. So the fluid starts to flow through. The jacks will operate sometimes a little erratically, and you'll want to repeat this process several times just to make sure that all the fluid has circulated through the system and we have all the air pushed out of it. And we'll cycle it again. It's a good idea at this point to check for leaks, make sure there's no hydraulic fluid leaking out. And it appears we're ready to bring them back down. We'll put them in a lower position, raise them up one more time, and then we're going to go through the bleeding procedure. All right, so now we've got our jacking platform cycled a couple times, but you'll remember they were moving pretty erratically. So in order to correct that, we got to get all the air out of the system. So we got to bleed them, just like you bleed the brakes on your car or your hydraulic clutch. So to do that, we've elevated the platform and put it in the first locking position. The bleeder screw is located at the very top of the hydraulic cylinder where our hydraulic line comes in. It's a 5mm Allen screw, and we're simply going to open the valve slightly and see if we get any air to come out. And with it in the lock position, we're simply going to hit the up button on our power unit. And there, we get a little bit of fluid out. We'll tighten up this valve. Just make sure it's good and snug, and now we should have this cylinder bled. Now here's a tip. In order to get all the air out of the cylinder, you'll notice the cylinder is in a lower position. So if I take the jacking platform and raise it up, I may be able to get some more air out of the system that we've already run. Let me demonstrate. Simply tilt the platform up so that the hydraulic cylinder is now at the highest possible place and all the air can travel to the top. Using my Allen wrench, I'm simply going to open the valve and let the air out. Now we did have a little bit of air come out of this system. It's at the very top. Tighten that back up again. We'll set our jack frame down. And let's test to see if they have smooth operation. Now I'm going to release the lock. And let's go down. See the difference in how much smoother they operate with the air out of the system? Nice, consistent, controlled. Now we should be ready to use the equipment as it's designed. Thanks for watching the official QuickJack setup tutorial. I'd like to mention again to really familiarize yourself with the instruction manual included, and if you have any other questions regarding this setup process, please don't hesitate to contact us. We hope you found this video helpful. If so, please let us know by pressing like. And for more great tips and videos like this, you can stay tuned by subscribing to this channel. Thanks again for choosing QuickJack.